Hey there guys, it's Shu here and welcome to my new player's guide for Duel Links. In this video, I'll explain some tips and tricks that you can learn whilst playing the game. Now in this video, as you can see here, that there's only like 8 or 9 tips that you can learn, or in this case, that you can understand of what you can gain from this video. And the 10th one is going to be a very important one when it comes to learning, or in this case, understanding doing things in general. So yeah. Basically, if you have any questions whatsoever, you can actually find this guide, or you can contact me either in the description below, in the comments below, or you can actually find my Discord link in the description below, and you can get this specific guide in my Discord. It's in the Duel Links guides section, where you can easily find it. So yeah, let me just go into some explanation of what my tips and tricks are. So, tip number 1: build what deck you want to make in Duel Links. If you want to make meta decks or play meta decks, play them. Build the best decks in Duel Links, which is very possible in the game because anything is possible. Note, some decks require a lot of gems to obtain certain cards from boxes, depending on how lucky you get. This is very true because depending on how lucky you get from getting certain cards, you can easily reset, or you can go into the box even further and collect certain cards. Or otherwise, you could just play casual and have fun. You can do whatever. You can play meta, or in this case competitive decks, or you can play fun decks. Play whatever deck you want to make. Tip number 2. Now this takes place in between tip 1 and tip 2, so it not contradicts, but it follows between tip 1 and tip 2. So plan what decks you want to make in the game. It's very important. Planning what deck you want to make is very, very important when it comes to playing Duel Links, as gems are not easy to get. Gems are given to players in certain times, also leveling up characters, doing events, and doing specific things in general, like PvP, is another way to get is more ways to get gems, but it's limited to how much you can do in the game. So yeah, don't make too many decks at once. Don't make too many decks from different boxes. This is very important, unless they have the cards you need for one specific deck you're trying to build. As gems, as I explained before, gems is in this currency where you can buy packs from the shop. Tip number 3: some cards that are from events are limited time only, which means that once a card from that event is over, basically once a card that you can get from that event is over, you won't be able to obtain it again until the event either comes back, which usually once an event comes, it's usually comes to Duel Links. It usually comes every couple months, once every couple months, but it usually runs twice, sometimes more, like the Gami event, but it depends how lucky the event returns. Usually it's twice. Usually for most gacha games or any other games in general, they only appear like once, but in Duel Links it does appear multiple times, but it depends if it ever returns again. Like for example, we had a previous event, like in the early stages, called the Pegasus event. There are certain things in there that you could get, but you can't get it when the event is over. Like for example, playmat sleeves, and I don't think you can get icons during that time, but icons they kind of mostly touched on later on in the game. But yeah, it's very, very important. And yeah, once the event doesn't return, the cards usually return either via SR or UR tickets. So that's the only way you can get those cards again, but you can't get them. You can't get specific characters or specific icons or playmats or sleeves again if the event is over. So very, very important that you take place during that event. Tip number 4: when playing in PvP or duels, make sure you have your duel settings on these particular settings for the best type of gameplay, unless you like cinematic duels, which is perfectly fine. If you like that cinematic type of duel where where the monsters pop up and you can see them fighting. So yeah, setting your camera to top-down view to on is very, very important. Setting the chain settings to self-chain on is very important. Activation confirmation set to your toggle button is very, very on. Power usage, this is only for mobile users, so set to mid or any specific mode that you feel is comfortable, because this will drain your power. This will drain your battery, which is very important when it comes to playing the game on mobile, because you will run out of battery if you're playing on a older version of your phone, or older phone version. Tip number 5: playing the best rarity is important for assessment points when dueling legendary duelists, as this will give you a bonus score when you're achieving a high score when it comes to obtaining high rarity cards, or in this case, more cards on your achievement score. For example, if you were to play a prismatic or a glossy card, you get 100 points for each one you play. So you play one glossy card, which is like a shimmer on it, you get like 100 points for that. If you play prismatic card, which is like a full glossy, it's like a shiny card or whatever. That's shiny all over. That is repeating over and over again. That is a prismatic card, and you get 100 points for that. So basically, what you want to do is gain a point total of 8,000, but you get 1,000 for each reward. So 8,000 is the most. You can't get any more after 8,000. So getting up to 8,000 is very, very important when it comes to achievement scores. Tip number 6: don't invest in the best decks unless you can afford them with a reasonable amount of gems. This is very, very important, as gems are your currency, as I explained in number 2 for the tip, as currency is not easy to come by, and investing in certain decks, or in this case, investing in the decks you want to invest in, is very, very important. As Duel Links like TCG has a forbidden limited list, and some cards might appear on the list that are from the best decks, and these are very, very powerful cards. So basically, you need to keep an eye on when those best decks last, and when the card in that specific deck has been played. So if you know a card has been played in that specific deck for a long time, keep an eye on it, because it might appear on the forbidden limited list, and you have to be very, very careful, as most decks last. The best decks usually last around 3 months to a year, depending. So basically, you need to keep watch on KC Cup deck results. Basically, the KC Cup is like the biggest Duel Links tournament in for PvP in general. So this is the one that Konami mostly focus on. If you're familiar with YCSs or regionals, well, not just regionals, but YCS like Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series. Well, currently locked down, but once the lockdown's over, we might get it back. I don't know. Who knows? So basically, YCS is where the big championship tournaments happen, and most of the best decks are scheduled. Well, not scheduled, but you know what the best decks are, and people will counteract it. Or in this case, if it gets too popular, Konami will probably try and nerf the deck, or try and do something to specific cards that will hit the deck. So this is very important when trying to invest in certain decks, as not just playing the best decks is fun, but if you're free to play, you need to watch out, as if you don't invest in the deck, invest in your gems properly, you might need to play a different deck, and if you don't have enough gems, well, that's on you, which is very, very important. Tip number 7: some useful cards can be found in the card trader. Be sure to check the card trader every 8 hours for featured cards, which is in the main section of the card trader, as you'll be able to see new stock during every new rotation. The card trader also includes a skill lottery, which is very good if you're trying to obtain skills in general, but it's a lottery, so it's very random, and you need certain items to actually gain a random skill. You might get lucky and get the skill you wanted, but it's a lottery, so you don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes you might get lucky. And also, if you scroll to the left when you're in the main section of the card trader, scroll to the left and you'll be able to get to the regular inventory, which is the older stock. And you'll be able to scroll left again, not in the regular inventory, but if you scroll left again, you'll be able to upgrade certain cards from the card trader that you can upgrade to glossy and prismatic. First it's glossy, then it's prismatic. So very, very important when you're trying to upgrade certain cards to better results. Tip number 8: obtain free gems while dueling. Now this is very, very important when it comes to doing your daily stuff, well, doing things in general in Duel Links without dueling every day. This is how you obtain free gems. You can obtain free gems by clicking on certain parts of the map on each area. So there's 4 sections, if you're familiar, in Duel Links, where you have the gate, the PvP arena, the shop, and the Duel Studio. Now these 4 sections have specific places where you can click on the map, where you can actually get gems if you're lucky enough for it to create an animation to spawn free gems. You can get a vary of 1 gem to like, I believe, maybe 5 gems. So you can attain, if you're lucky, might be able to attain 20 gems, but that's if you're very lucky. You might attain like 1 gem, you might, the other section might attain 2 gems, you might attain no gems at all. So it's very, very random. So yeah, and also you can obtain 5 gems for free daily when you watch a street replay in the Duel Studio section of the map. You don't have to watch a replay, you can just skip it. So yeah, free gems, free 5 gems a day. It's very, very good. So you can attain like around 25 gems, literally a day, up to 25 gems, depending on how lucky you get. The areas on the map are the river or the fountain, which is in certain sections of each world, Duel Links world. You can obtain gems from that. So you can obtain from the fountain or the river, depending on which map which world you're on. Street lights, which is mostly every single world, Duel world, pretty much GX standard, Duel Monsters world. There's the 5Ds, and there's Zexal, and then there's Darksky Dimensions as well. I believe they all have street lights. Comment below if I'm missing something in general. And also top of the card shop, which is null plates, you can actually get free gems, and also the bin/toolbox, which is at the Duel Studio, which is the very last one. Tip number 9, which is also a very, very good one to learn. Let me just scroll this up real quick. Tip number 9, learn how each deck works. Even if you win or lose against the decks, well, the better decks, understand how they work so you can strategize around it. Winning and losing, no big deal, but everyone hates to lose. But learning how to counter the deck is how you learn and progress through playing the game. And also, you don't have to own that deck to understand how it works. Watch videos from Duel Links content creators that upload on YouTube, or watch streams in general that will demonstrate how the deck works, so you can actually understand how it works, so you can plan around it, and also play, if you have the deck, play it. To be honest, if you have the deck, play it constantly so you can understand how it works, and that's how you actually can get better with the deck, and also how to counter it. The best way of learning how a deck works is by playing it yourself, which is probably the best advice I can actually give you. To learn how to beat the deck, you must learn how to play the deck, and that's how you can counter a deck in general. For me, I play a lot of different decks so that I understand how each deck kind of works, so I know how to counter in the future. But learning how the deck works is also another way to understand how you can beat it. So very, very important. Lastly, which is the most important tip of all, tip number 10. Don't be afraid to ask experienced duelists, for example TCG or Duel Links. Preferably Duel Links if you're playing Duel Links in general. Experienced questions on the game. Experienced duelists with questions on the game, like myself, DCRSer, or other content creators that might give you helpful advice or tips and tricks that might make you get better at understanding how to play Duel Links much more better, and understand how you can actually construct decks, tips to what to avoid, what to understand, and how to learn how to play a deck, or play decks, or play in tournaments, or play however you want to make your Duel Links experience more comfortable. Also, when it comes to the questions in general, always remember to take the advice with a grain of salt, as everyone has different experiences in the game, and if you don't know if they're giving you helpful advice, that's alright, because it's your understanding of how you play the deck, or it's your understanding how you play Duel Links, that you need to get an understanding of how to build decks in general, or playing the game more casually or competitively. It's up to you. But yeah, this is just 10 tips that you can actually learn from, or you can obtain experience for when playing Duel Links. So yeah, Hope you guys enjoyed this video on some tips and tricks for new players and how to understand how to get better at the game or how to start off the game in general. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next new players guide or beginner's guide video. Thank you and goodbye.